The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
During the Jeep Wrap-Up the Year sales event, well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X 4x4 for $429 a month for 39 months with $3,008 of 5 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Don't miss this great offer. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Stellantis Financial. Extra charge for miles over 32,500. Not all customers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 1/2/24. Jeep is a registered trademark.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to discuss the epic Christmas schedule, as always, it's Mr. Sports Science himself. It's Simon Brundish. Evening, Si.
Boys.
Not fully fit, Simon, though, yet. You're not fully match fit yet.
No, people still really don't need to hear about me whining.
Yeah, that's right. You've got a brand to keep up here, haven't you?
I'm talking about it myself.
But there's plenty on the Sports Science to talk about on this one, isn't there? Anyway, that's for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. And our newest regular is back again. Bart's couldn't be with us. Rosie couldn't be with us. But Hamzah Lunat from The Times, back again. How are you doing, Hamzah?
Good evening, everyone. Well, it's evening when we're recording this. I hope everyone had a nice Christmas. But yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm at home, so my internet is not as stable as when I'm in the office, but should be fine for tonight.
Did you have a Boxing Day assignment at The Times?
Yeah, I do a weekly tactics sort of.
But not match, not match attending.
No, I had the match off. I did Christmas Eve at Wolves, which was quite easy. I did a swap, which was quite useful. I was meant to do Forest on the Saturday, and then Nuno Espirito Santa, as the Christmas one goes. And you can see that's in all my reports I did for Anfield Index whenever we played Wolves around Christmas. But yeah,
just write themselves, Hamzah.
He was appointed, so and that match also clashed. Well, if I was watching it, I wouldn't be able to get back in time for the Liverpool match, so I got a swap, and then I did Wolves instead, which is much easier.
Oh, okay. Christmas Eve lunchtime. Anyway, yes.
That poor fella has no idea what a shit show Forest is.
Well, Si, I don't know about you, but I thought this was coming into it. I was so excited about this game, this Arsenal game. I thought it was like the biggest league match at Anfield, at least in I was thinking in 4 years since the title season. I know we had the game at the Etihad in 21-22 when, potentially we could have won and controlled our destiny, but this game here just felt massive to me coming into it.
Yeah, alongside what feels like City's collapse and
relative collapse, yes.
Yeah, exacerbated by them not playing, being away at the league, the World Club Cup or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that amplifies the whole. We're ahead in the way that when they came from behind, when they were 37 points behind us with actually 14 games in hand or whatever absurdity is, but people only ever talk about how many points behind, doesn't it, when we threw the title away?
Yeah,
I think with the games in hand we were like 4 points ahead, and so yeah, it just feels like a more exaggerated version, but it was very exciting coming in. It impending from the beginning of the season. We got United and Arsenal at home right before Christmas.
Yeah.
That always felt exciting. And then the shit show of playing against United, which people gave United way too much credit for. We were just rubbish. And it could only get better than that. Having a team that's come into Liverpool to attack. It felt a little bit 90s, like Arsenal and Man United playing each other. Like proper big teams that are going to go toe to toe and thrash it out. Didn't really work out that way, but it was very exciting.
Yeah. And I guess the biggest thing about that was Arsenal had a free midweek. We had to play a Carabao Cup quarter-final against Aston Villa. And what did that do to the starting 11s, say? And also, what was the rotation for the Arsenal game? And then what did he generally think after what, let's do the whole of the impacts of the Villa game on the match for us. And let's get it all out the way now.
Well, the thing is, you have to periodise this. You can't just look at it as what we're going to do from this game to the next game. It has to be within a block. And this is the biggest block of the season.
Yeah.
Post week. And all of the games we have one after the next. Was it? I think we had 14 games in 31 days. Even though relatively we've got the second best or best schedule over the actual Christmas period in terms of hours between the 3 Christmas games and the amount of travel we have. These things were in our favour, but these things were also in our favour 2 years ago. If you remember, I was making a big deal out of it. And we didn't take advantage of it then. And we kind of not really taken advantage of it this time either. But the thing I bang on about with the Caribou is that the date of the fixture, knowing that it was between Man United and Arsenal, knowing the impact it would have on the rotation of our squad, because we don't have a massive squad. It's not tiny, but we have to use first teamers in all of these games. And there's a bunch of our first teamers who are both fragile and or injured. So you have to try to mitigate their acute playing load at the same time as be in the back of your eye, in the back of your mind, be aware of their overall season playing load and the trajectory of that. So you want to reduce their minutes for week on week, but also keep them high enough to be robust and ready for action. So there's lots of stuff to think about, and it would have been the first full 4-day day 4 game day plus 4 of this block if we hadn't have played the Caribou, but we did. And so instead of having 2 free full training days between Man United and Arsenal, we had none. And you've got to rotate how you rotate around that. So there was a bunch between the EFL and playing West Ham. But like we were playing properly for first team players in that game. We're treating it like you got the rotation of Ali, but
got Kwanzaa and Ibu seem to be rotating match by match at the moment.
Yeah, midweeks.
Yeah,
it's happened quite a lot. So smart, you can't play Ibu back to back. It just seems unfeasible. Joe Gomez is having to play way more than you'd want him to because he's covering the fullbacks and Trent needs time off. Yeah. And now we've got both left backs injured. So they're coming out. You've got what was the midweek midfield of Endo, Harvey and CJ. And CJ and Harvey played the whole game in the EFL, which one of them was, well, they were both played really, really good games. And the tide seems to turn in favour of Curtis after that game. So people were desperate for him to start and see his value against Arsenal. But the problem was it was kind of buggered from playing all 95 minutes at a really high intense level against West Ham. So there is consequences to all of these things. Yeah. But he did start. And there was some kind of upside around the interchange of the forwards and playing them on the opposite sides. And and getting a little bit of form. Maybe Darwin started to look a little bit better coming off the left. So yeah.
Yeah, well, up front, the other rotation was that Darwin played the full game against Villa, and then Diaz came back in on the left, and Cody stayed up front. So,
yeah, so there are consequences to all how these intermingle and mesh. But the upside of all of these games is that we seem to, like I alluded to earlier, we had a midweek midfield. And we kind of got a midweek defense going a little bit, but a little bit less than that because the injuries we have. The first few midweek games we had look really disjointed because these lads have never played together, and the units have never played together. But now they're starting to have experienced that because they've played the previous week together. They're just the units within the team, and long term that could be of a real benefit.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Hamzah, we spent a lot of time recent pods talking about balance and balance of roles again. This 11 against Arsenal looked nicely balanced.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it really helped, as we mentioned before, with Jones coming in. And I think he pairs quite well with Endo as well. So when we think about roles, it's not just how a player functions within the system as a whole, but how does a player couple with the players alongside them as well?
Yeah, they need to be complementary, don't they, to the person next to them, don't they? They don't want to be doing the same thing.
Absolutely, and I think that worked really well. And it was not just Jones and Endo, but also Trent as well, because Trent came in field, and you see different moments in the Arsenal game in particular. Those three players taking up the sort of nominal number 6 role in the middle, and other times moving out wide. So by knowing each other's movements and understanding when to go in and when not to go in, when to allow a teammate to move into that spot, or when to support them as part of a double pivot, as sometimes Jones did with Endo, that's quite helpful because it just gives a bit of reliability and safety within the minds of each player. So they feel a bit more comfortable. So that balance, particularly across the back, felt much better, and we began to see the benefits of that in possession after the first 15 or so minutes. And
Arsenal, you've been to a lot of Arsenal games, a lot more Arsenal games than me inside this season. Any surprises at all in the Arsenal 11? Is this full strength for them?
This is the first choice team. There has been a bit of discussion about players that they may look to sign, maybe a new striker, but I think just the way that they play, Jesus is excellent in the way that he peels over to each half space to support the winger on whichever side he's working with, so he helps them double up. Sometimes they have a little bit of an issue in that the wingers do get a bit isolated, but we got a chance to. We got a little off the record chat with Edu, and he mentioned how pleased he's been with Havertz and his development, and how he sort of fills in and offers something a bit different to Xhaka. So you see how he box crashes and supports the attacks a bit better. His off-ball movement is quite good. But yeah, filling that space between the sort of midfield line and the forward line, Havertz does so. Havertz is improving on that side. So it's helping that left side build up, and you're also seeing Odegaard getting on the ball a bit more. So this is about as strong as they get. They are. One thing I think that they may have done, though, if they had a full strength squad, Tomiyasu may have been employed instead of Zinchenko to deal with Mo Salah. They've done that in a few matches before, and Tomiyasu's profile is much better suited to going closer up. And while Zinchenko does offer relief in terms of possession, when it comes to being isolated against a player like Salah, as you saw with the goal, and as you saw with passes that were played over his head, and when we built up on the right around him, or last season as well in the 2-2 draw where Trent got round the outside, I think they nutmegged him and then chipped the pass for the equalising goal, Firmino's goal. Zinchenko can be targeted. For sure. He's definitely a weak link, and it's definitely a favourable matchup. And I mean, there's matchup on when you look at 11 v 11, there was matchups that favoured Arsenal in positionally, and the Salah versus Zinchenko was definitely one in our favour. I think that's why they recruited Timber in the first place, so he would play as he's also out with a ACL this season, so like it's as full strength as they can be without the excluding Timber, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, the idea that he would tuck in the sort of in the same way that Ake and John Stones sort of do from fullback, and then off as a point midfield, because he's pretty good technically, but he's a lot more robust and better in defending one-on-ones because he used to play as a centre back as well. So that was the idea behind Timber joining, but he's been injured, so they haven't been able to use him. But this is typical first choice 11, but I think specifically for Liverpool, Tomiyasu may have played if he was fit, and if Timber was fit, as well, he would.
Nice. Unfortunately, Arsenal have quite a bright start, Hamzah. And then, much as you talked about Arsenal's strength at both ends in set pieces, unfortunately for us, it was a set piece that gave them the early lead.
And the shot placement itself isn't necessarily very big. I might just pull it up on Understat if you give me a second. The reason, they got 2 set pieces in the first few minutes. One was a corner, and the second was the goal that the free kick from the left side where Konate goes in with Havertz, makes a foul, and they get the free kick from there. This season they have the most set piece goals, 11, joint with Everton, who are playing City now, so that stat might change if you're listening when this goes live. But their XG isn't as high. Their XG puts them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th for XG from set pieces. But with 6.6, so they've outperformed it by quite a bit, and this goal would have helped that overperformance a little bit because it was positioned near the. I'm just going to get it up now. The goal,
it was central. It was central, about 12 meters out, I would say.
It's when I look on Understat, it's a bit closer than I thought it was. I thought it was a bit nearer the penalty spot. But I think the issue in this was the
question is how did Gabriel get a free header in our box? That's the key breakdown, isn't it?
Yeah. So we initially positioned our line outside the area, and then just as the kick was about to be taken, Liverpool dropped to the line of the area. And Gakpo just slightly sort of oversteps, and that's eventually what plays Gabriel onside. But you also see Konate's with Gabriel at the same point too. Yeah. And if you watch the movement that he does, he sort of jinks in and out. I think the idea was to just quickly sort of try and play the trap, but just don't quite do it right. Just holding the line.
And then it's a combination of three small mistakes, isn't it? Because Ali comes and thinks about coming, then doesn't, and he gets caught between 2 stools as well. So Cody playing him on, Ibu not tracking his man, not staying with his man, and Ali getting caught between 2 stools. So it's just so annoying to concede an equaliser like that. So an opening goal like that. So
it was a very sloppy free kick to give away in the first place.
You think so? Yeah. Yeah. Needless. Yeah.
Absolutely needless. Middle of our half, near the touchline. No one was going anywhere. It was just one of those, a little bit of a rash because they got a head of steam up, and I don't know what it felt like in the stadium, but the commentary were behaving like they'd already had 15 shots after 3.
But this Gary Neville just being a dick, and he's awful.
Our players started to behave like that was what was happening. So there was a little bit of panic going on.
Yeah. Yeah, we did take a few minutes to settle. I think it's to be fair side, didn't we? And I wanted to ask about how you thought we'd ended up settling, and then how I think it's fair to say for the majority of this game, I thought we were on top. It was a close game. It was an evening game, but I thought we were on top for probably about an hour of the 90.
I would say that, but for the first, they had 7 touches in our box and 4 shots. Up until the 13th minute, and then from the 13th minute we dominated them basically. Up until then, what did they score on? 4. So up until then we panicked. We basically had nothing going forward at all. We'd had 2 touches inside their box. They had 7 in ours and 4 shots on target, 4 shots at the goal. So they were getting in. They were cutting into us,
and they only had 28. Arsenal only had 28 possession in that first 12-minute period.
Yeah, they had 25 passes. We had 67, but we had 67 passes exactly where they wanted us to have.
Yeah, sterile. Yeah.
And they were pressing us and funneling us back through the goalie, back to back to Kanate. Go on, then have another touch. The Van Dijk and Ali had 15 passes between them.
Yeah,
and Arsenal had 25 in the whole 13 minutes and created 4 shots.
Yeah, they were quite direct. It's fair to say, weren't they?
Yeah,
but not in a long ball kind of way. Just direct in terms of vertical passing and yeah.
And they put a lot of players up the pitch, and they had a really high line, and we it took a while for us to calm our heads and stop them spinning.
Yeah. How did you think we got a grip of the game tactically?
I think they got a little bit tired for a start.
Yeah.
But one of the big moments was as we got a little bit more comfortable that Trent was staying wide because he's got a winger out there for the whole time. So somebody has to pick him up. So instead of going, let me run inside for the first, his first thought, I think he was very cognizant that he had Martinelli out there. And Zobbo was dropping in really well, I thought, alongside to help out. He had a couple of interceptions and clearances inside our box, but there was a moment where their intensity dropped a little bit, and our rotation through the 6 and the second 6 position to allow shorter passes to be received from the centre backs. I think that changed, and then Trent started to come inside a little bit alongside Endo, and instead of Endo dropping in between Van Dijk and Kanate, the Trent started to push inside there as well. But I actually think the biggest change of momentum happened because the brilliant pass that Trent pinged, and they just got really fearful of Trent back then. So what happened was, as soon as Trent gets the ball, they dropped about 10 yards, which allowed him either to do the thing he wants to do, or it allowed a whole bunch of space to the eights.
I think it's fair to say, Si, that Trent, this is one of Trent's best ever games on the ball. His levels of individual quality were so high in this match.
Yeah, I think he made 2 of the best passes I've seen. But in the same game, Declan Rice, who was lauded by some Liverpool fans, but he played a really good game. He actually played a Trent-like pass in the same game. There were 3 unbelievable passes. But I remember having this conversation earlier in the season where Trent and then Zobbo and then Matt all played 3 of the best passes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a quarterback kind of, I think we might be going through, we haven't had a lot of this. When I was a kid, Hoddle was the guy that did this. Then Beckham in the 90s was the guy that would pick the ball up deep and ping 60-yard passes.
Jan Molby?
And, Molby, no one's going to remember him. But yeah, Molby used to do it. But not as good as Hoddle. He just didn't. And I love Jan Molby. But technically, they were able to control. It was almost like FIFA in that they had the right thumb button to control the ball while it's in flight after they had pinged it. We have really, really good technical players that can make 40, 50-yard switches and decisive through passes. But the thing Trent and Zobbo done earlier in the season, and then Declan Rice in this game, was the fade that they put after the ball had bounced. It was unbelievable. And the quality of this thing is new. I think we might be at a moment that in the late 90s, the early noughties, when Ronaldo changed how you kick a ball. I think we might be coming to that with Trent and how you can spray passes. I think the knuckling of how he is controlling this long 50-yard pass, I think it's unique. I think it's new. And technically, this is going to be the Trent's legacy.
Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Yeah, nice. Hamzah, so this period after 15 minutes, we have three big moments all down the right-hand side of the Arsenal box. Starts with a should we call it a Salah's sighter for the goal he then scores, which was nice. It was a nice setup, wasn't it? Endo. It was just a kind of a floated ball in, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was the one that hit the side netting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's a particularly easy chance. I don't think you'd say he expects to score it every time, but on another day he gets it on target.
But these are the chances, because Arsenal give up so few chances. These are, I think we saw this firsthand, didn't we? That how good Arsenal's defence is and how difficult it is to create much of any substance against them.
And what Salah does well, as in this particular moment, I think, if I'm right, Diaz and Gakpo occupy the back line, and Salah doesn't commit to joining that yet. So the ball gets worked on the left side, and then Jones ends up with it, and then he gives it to Endo on the left side of the penalty area, and then he picks his head up. And that's when, there's a slight mix-up between Zinchenko and Gabriel, with Gakpo between them, and Gakpo wins that header. And because Salah hasn't committed to that line already, what he's actually done is sort of hang a bit further back in the box, as in closer to Liverpool's own goal. And as the ball's floated in, then he makes his move forward. So in that moment, he was just in the space between the defensive line and the midfield line, just asking that question of, who's going to mark me? Who's going to commit to me? Do you want to commit to me? Because I'm standing wide, I'm standing deep. And then when he becomes active, he becomes a challenge. That was one of Gakpo's few touches, which I guess we'll
one of his 5 passes in 70 minutes. Yes, we'll come on to Cody after in second half. But just, do you want to talk us through then? Just after that, about a minute later. Probably the biggest talking point of the whole match, Hamzah.
Oh, is this our handball incident?
Yeah, the Odegaard handball. How did it? Can you just describe the sequence which led to it?
Oh yeah, so Liverpool on the break, and I remember I think we drop off into a sort of mid block near halfway, and Gabriel tries to play a pass through midfield, and Salah intercepts it. Classic sort of opportunity for a counter-attack. Gakpo, Szoboszlai, Diaz all break forward, and I think I've just got this up now. There are 4 Arsenal players in their half, as Salah's just about to cross into their half, and just Gakpo in their half. So it's there's 4-1 there, but behind that there's Salah, Szoboszlai, and Diaz, and Salah's just running past Odegaard. Odegaard makes one tackle, doesn't get the ball. Salah then gets the ball, runs over, and Rice fouls him. So yeah, a good move. Nice break. Pretty standard defensive midfield sort of tactics. Break it up, get the foul, blah, blah, blah. Then this is the free kick is Tsimikas and Trent together. Flip the ball forward. Jesus blocks it, and this is just a really bad decision. I don't really think there isn't any mitigation here, because even if the referee misses it, there's a linesman. I think a lot of people forget that you don't just have the referee in the VAR. You have the linesman, the other linesman, and the fourth official. And this is not just for this incident, but for all incidents, right? And they can communicate and talk about any incident they see and flag it. This one is so bad. Salah takes a touch around Odegaard with spin, so it's going to come back in as Salah runs around him. So he's probably going to take his touch and then get a shot off, or take a shot off first time if he can run around the ball well enough. But pretty much there's no one else there, and Odegaard just blocks it with his hand. There's some talk about slipping, but the more
Gary Neville being a knob, we're going to ignore that because this is Gary Neville being a knob.
I think Klopp mentioned after the match, Dermot Gallagher would try and make an excuse up on TV, the following on the Ref Watch program that Sky do, and Dermot Gallagher was pretty clear. It's like, yeah, that's a penalty. I don't know how they've given that, and if Dermot Gallagher's saying that, Dermot tends to sort of support the on-field decision. Yeah. It's quite clear that that's a really, really big error.
So we're going to come on to accidental in the Burnley match. Whether accidental, just it doesn't matter how you got into that position. The fact is, it's hit your hand. It's handball. So it doesn't matter. I don't know why even Gary Neville even starts talking about slipping. It's irrelevant. It hits his hand and it stops it going through. And the only reason it stops Salah being clean through is by hitting his hand. So, yeah. Si, is this our second apology from Pogmol this season or third?
We didn't get one.
I thought we got an apology. Oh, sorry.
It's fake.
Sorry.
We've had two, but this was a fake apology. It wasn't real.
Okay.
But sadly, you're incorrect about the slipping. It actually does play a role because of their stupid, subjective.
So handball is allowed if you're slipping, then?
No, but it is your arm in a natural position, and if you slipped, then that accounts for a different position for your arm to be in, and so that's an extra layer of subjectivity from people that aren't experts in body movement at all. So I've seen so many free kicks and potential handballs in the past that and penalties given by people jumping and using their arms to jump. And where's his arm supposed to go because he's jumping, which is absolutely true because you use your arms to get leverage to leave the ground, and referees give that because that's an unnatural position because the arm's above the head when it's absolutely natural position to get your arm above your head to jump. And in this case, he just saved the fucking ball. It was natural because he made a save. It was nothing to do with slipping, but because they used the term slipping, and it opened a doorway for them to use whatever, I don't know, covering of referees' arses that they like to do these days with VAR. Instead of just getting a decision right, there is a shadow of doubt that potentially he could be slipping. So does that cover the arm position? Does that make it natural? He's putting his hand towards the ground because he's slipping over. The bottom line is the handball rule is absolute garbage. It feels like it's written by 50-year-old knitters that have never watched football.
Yeah, but it's pretty. It's
absolutely arguable, sadly, because there was a lot of slipping going on in the game. I'm fairly sure we probably caused it ourselves by the amount of watering of the pitch, because there was loads of slipping going on.
Well, I don't know, because that looked like a pretty emphatic handball to me.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not arguing against that at all. He moved his arm to save the ball.
Yeah.
But he definitely also slipped at the same time.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason why he saved the ball. He saved the ball because he saved the ball.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it didn't take us long before we actually equalised. And it was one of the best goals I can remember seeing. Mo Salah has scored some amazing goals. Trent Alexander has assisted some amazing goals. This was them both at the same time in the same move. It was just glorious.
Yeah, this is the stuff that we've talked about for years. Trent to Mo, one of the great passes you'll ever see. and Mo sitting down a fullback and blamming one into the top corner.
Near post, not far post like he normally does, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. But he's actually scored. If you go back amongst his goals, because Mo's actually got way more great goals than people give him credit for. He's scored near post loads of times, and he's done this thing loads of times, and it's like, it's Zinchenko's shit. It was incidental that it happened to be Mo Salah.
Yeah,
it's just that it was anybody.
The ball was past Raya
because Zinchenko is shit.
The ball was past Raya before he could even react.
Unbelievable pass. Zinchenko was showing him onto his right foot, and he sat him down because he's a brilliant footballer that has a massive history of doing this exact thing. And the goalie could do nothing about it because he was going far post, because that's what Mo Salah does. And then with his eyes, aiming for the top corner in the far post, he slotted it near post into the top corner instead at like 78 miles per hour.
Yeah.
How them apples. What are you supposed to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a brilliant goal. Absolutely fantastic goal. Hamzah, I thought other than the breakaway Arsenal chance, which kind of probably generated a lot more XT than XG, I would have thought, just before the half, we really came on strong for the rest of the first half here, and Arsenal were getting a bit sloppy. The press was working well. We were generating some high turnovers. I mean, I think Mark Stats has got us down as 8 in the match, with one leading to a goal. It's such a shame we don't have our own pressing anymore, because I think it would have been a huge story in this match, at least until Jones went off. But Hamzah, I thought we came on strong for the rest of the half.
And that chance runabout is when Saka went through, right?
Yeah, and it kind of runs across, and they don't get a shot, and then it runs, and they get a half shot off it, and then there's a bit of chaos, isn't there?
Yeah, I think Martinelli, his first, so Alisson dives for the ball. Well, actually, to preface this, Tsimikas is already injured, and he's come off, so Gomez has come on.
Oh,
Gomez,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's quite a difficult situation to come on as a sub into a game of this speed, and I think it took Gomez just a few minutes to get up to speed, just because of the intensity of it. And in that instance, he's on the left side and he's dealing with Saka. Saka breaks through onto. Let me just see who plays the pass. So Jesus' pass. Jesus drops in, plays pass forward. Saka gets in. Alisson comes forwards, tries to smother and then dive, but Saka takes his touch away. I think there might be an opportunity there to go down for a penalty. I'm not too sure. Might be that Alisson pulls his arms away. But I think if Saka really wanted to initiate contact, he could have gone into Alisson and gone down and probably would have earned a penalty. But yeah, they don't get a shot from that situation. And then when Martinelli comes on to rebound, his first touch isn't great, and then he slips, and then he shoots wide of the post. But otherwise, that was the only sort of moment in that half, in the first half, where it felt like. Where Liverpool didn't have the sort of the best of it. Otherwise, Liverpool were really on top. And the one thing I think might be worth getting into is, I'm sure Arsenal would have known that. Well, they would have recognised pretty soon into the match that Alexander-Arnold was coming in field and beginning to dictate play from there. But I think what they would have been worried about is, for example, if you try and stick a man on Trent the whole time and he just goes wide, then he's just dragged. Let's say Trent comes infield between the two centre backs, and the instruction then becomes, Jesus, can you follow him wherever he goes? Yeah, to make sure that he doesn't have the opportunity to pick passes to Salah. Then in that situation, he probably just pulls to the right back area and takes the striker with him, in which case now you've got a free pass straight through the middle of the pitch, or someone else has to compensate, and they don't want to compensate by going man to man, because you want to have an extra player at the back to deal with the front three, because even if Diaz and Gakpo aren't playing well, it's still a quick front line, a strong front line, and a front line that in one-on-one situations, if you've got Diaz in a one-on-one or Salah in a one-on-one, as a defending team, as a defending coach, you're not going to be comfortable with that situation happening very often. I think that was one of the questions that was posed, and we dealt with that quite well.
And I think just coming to the other side of half time as well, Hamzah. I mean, one of the biggest periods in this fourth, between say 30 and 70 minutes, the role of Jones and Endo together in centre mid was extremely effective. And I think it's fair to say that this game has been a turning point in how a lot of fans have seen and are praising Endo, because he's shown he can play in a huge game to a very high level.
100%, and you can see if any sort of anyone that's listening in or has the time, you can just check on the match momentum plots, which usually uses XT. So if you go on the FotMob one, you can see after that first period of Arsenal, sort of in the first 5 minutes, sorry. From then onwards, you have quite sort of pronounced periods of Liverpool dominance, and Endo was important to that because the way that he received and played through was quite well. I think he attempted 48 passes, completed 42. It was just clean and sharp stuff. A few passes into the final third as well, and I think he made a couple of long passes as well. But it was the defensive all-round stuff. So I'll just run through the stats again. 3 out of 3 tackles, 1 clearance, 1 headed clearance, 2 interceptions, 5 recoveries, 6 duels, 1, 5 duels lost. Yeah, a really rounded performance. I mean, if you look at Liverpool's XT in the past few matches, and since Endo has become a more sort of a regular option, the XT difference has been creeping up.
Yeah.
And you can see that, as in when you've got all these wonderful attacking players and you put a 6 that can do the job of a 6 and stop forcing someone like McAllister or Szoboszlai or whomever to fill in those positions and let the other players do their job, you can see the team as a unit functioning better.
Absolutely.
Can I stump in here? I would like, there's maybe 2 minutes on the question. What is a 6? What is he doing? Because he's got, in the last 2 weeks, a lot of love. It's like suddenly we've found peak Fabinho. Statistically, nothing backs that up at all. Yeah. What is he doing?
I was going to ask, what I was going to say was, I don't think he's doing anything which is particularly outstanding. I think he had a very good game against Arsenal. And I think what worked well for me was, I was going to ask you about, was the platform that we used to see when we were at our peak in terms of our pressing and our pressing intensity and traps. The role that Jones and Endo did was very complementary in that shield, sort of around about the edge of the centre circle inside the Arsenal half, and winning those balls back, and the pressing, the counter pressing from those two. I thought as a pair, Si, I thought that was particularly good.
Would be interesting if we got our pressing data, wouldn't it? I think that's the only thing that would validate the narrative.
But didn't you think he was in this match? He was part of a very effective team.
I think he did a nice job.
System.
I'm not saying he didn't do a nice job at all. I just don't see the brilliance yet. I don't know. It's not even about him. I don't see the massive impact he's having.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Hamzah that our XT is gradually improving defensively, but I'm not going to attribute.
It's such a small sample.
Yeah, I'm not going to. So I'm not going to attribute. Yeah, some people are going to say it's because of the 6, but I think there's other reasons as well. But
maybe it's because Jones is playing fullback. Gomez is playing fullback. Maybe it's because CJ's on the pitch. I just don't think it can be because we can just attribute all to Endo playing as a 6 because he comes as a 6. I think one of the things he is doing differently to McAllister is that he is dropping between the centre backs a little bit more and allowing Trent a little bit more space. And I don't know if that is making us more secure defensively. I think it might actually be making Trent make better choices.
But it's also, don't you think, Si, that, at the start of the season with the inversion of the Trent role, it was so forced, and you were saying it all the time. It's like he's literally.
But that's Trent. That's not about a 6.
No, but it imbalanced the whole system. What I'm saying is now is that the it's just more practiced, because this is like halfway through the season now, plus all the Europa League campaign, and I think everybody involved has got a lot more familiar with what the overall system is trying to do.
Got better. Yeah.
The
maybe
system's
they're better
got
at doing the system.
Yeah. but it's more practiced. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
makes
and,
sense.
and we're going to talk about again in the Burnley game is that Trent's not trying to do the same things as he was at the start of the season and just trying to just
3 weeks
invert
ago,
straight away.
not
And
the start of the season. I spent 20 minutes rambling about him 3 weeks ago.
yeah, he did. Yeah, but yeah, we're seeing more variety in recent matches, aren't we?
Yeah, I did. It's still, even though I'm still not beyond this. I think it's maybe 3 games where and each of those 3 games have had specific reasons why.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that if this is how
but
he's been
isn't that
playing from going on. I hope so,
isn't it
but I'm
horses
not
for
sure.
courses? Isn't it horses for courses? Don't you think?
Maybe, but like 3 games is not enough evidence.
No, this is true.
When there are
Yeah,
specific reasons why.
yeah, okay. But I wanted to, I thought Gags was really happy about how we were pressing in the group. I was going to ask him if he was going to collect the data for us, but there you go. It was Christmas, so he didn't. But it was just a shame that maybe it wasn't clicking as well up front for us as we had this really good system in place and a really good pressing performance, say, but there was 2 real weak links in that front 3 on the ball, unfortunately.
Yeah, we do. We're not fine. We're not making great decisions. I also think in the second game we were getting more people in better positions around the box than we were against Arsenal because we were a little
Burnley rubbish.
Yeah, probably because they're rubbish, and probably because we thought we were just more convinced that the back door was closed than against Arsenal. And you're right because they've got much better players, so we're less worried and gonna one of our players is more willing to make a 5 yard run further forward than they would have been against Arsenal because they knew they would have to make that 10 yards back. So this all plays part of it, and the intensity is much higher against Arsenal. The turnovers are much higher against Arsenal. The speed of pass has to be much higher against Arsenal. And you're going to get the ball back against Burnley. That's the biggest difference.
Mm.
But we've gone through a significant. We've talked about this last week, I'm sure. That our 4 of our 5 forwards, one of them was injured, and then the other 3 were largely dross.
Yeah.
Since the international break, since coming back from the brilliance of the international break, full of momentum from playing against the best in the world. All Gakpo, Darwin, and Diaz, all of them were coming back on a high, and then. But
for most of this match, we only had one street baller on the pitch.
Yeah, which is probably why the system looked like it was functioning better.
But it's fair to say that I don't think Luis or Cody had particularly good games at all. In fact, they were. Yeah, it was. I think. Am I being harsh to say that the game passed Cody by?
We've been of this opinion on a number of occasions about him, but we weren't, but the world was so happy to afford credit to Man United and how they managed to make us not win. Arsenal are really, really, really good.
Yeah, Arsenal are good.
Really,
Man United
really,
are not.
really good players all over the pitch.
Yeah. Okay, but in those games, you need your best players to stand up.
You do. You need them in form, and they didn't look in form at all.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're not ruling out that Cody Gakpo couldn't say play a really good role a game against Arsenal in the future?
Oh no, not at all.
Okay. All right. Should we talk about the subs? Say this was the biggest consequence of the Villa game, right? We were playing really well, and then we have to for reasons. Oh, actually, I haven't even mentioned about the Tsimikas injury. Do we know? Is it confirmed fracture?
Yes, it's definitely fracture, and because nothing else has broken since then in terms of news. So he didn't go and have surgery. I'm thinking he'll probably be back by February.
Do you think it's hairline?
At some point in February.
Do you think it's a hairline fracture then, something rather than a big one?
No. It's. I don't know how much you guys know about human biology. It's think of a light bulb, or no, think of a fuse, right? So to stop your house from blowing up, if there's a shock of energy, the fuse snaps. You have the right amplitude in that fuse so that it stops at the right point before you cause a fire. That's the exact job of collarbone. So you fall, you put your arm down. Its literal job is to take that force, displace the force by cracking, to stop serious injury in your chest or in your neck. Okay. And that's exactly what it did. And it heals really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So it is a break, but it's the best bone in the body to break if you're going to break one, because it's kind of designed to do exactly that. And the others are designed to create structure. This is literally designed to be a circuit breaker.
So this is why everybody listens to Under Pressure, because this is the kind of stuff you don't get anywhere else. This is like being back in school. Thank you, Si. But I think it's fair to say that Jurgen is a big guy, and anybody, I reckon he must be at least 100 kilos, Si.
The injury happened before Jurgen.
Oh, did he? Oh, it wasn't Jurgen. Big Jurgen.
It already broken before he touched Jurgen.
Oh, okay.
So you break a clavicle. Basically, if you put your arm into a press up position now.
Yeah.
So arm right in front of you. If you fell forward and land on the floor with your hand, that force that's transferred into the floor shoots up your arm, and it's got to go somewhere, and your shoulder will go back. Or if your shoulder is slightly turned out, you break your collarbone. And it was just from a landing position. So him rotating and landing down his whole body weight on his arm, it got nothing to do with Jurgen.
Okay, that's good.
But it looks like it was when Jurgen fell on it, but it was definitely...
Yeah, it looked like some kind of WWE wrestling move off the top rope or something, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't
it? Can I just say that when I had my most serious injury, when I did exactly what you were describing, my humerus broke completely in half, and It wasn't my collarbone. So yeah, there you go. It's not always the collarbone. Mine was a clean break of the humerus.
Jesus Christ, you've got some mineral deficiencies, young man.
Yeah, but this was like 20 years ago, so right. Anyway, so let's talk about the subs. Yeah, it was a direct consequence of the Villa game, yeah. And I think we didn't look very good at all, did we, after the subs say?
No, so we've been in a fortunate position. I think Jurgen's been in a fortunate position where we've got actual talent on the bench. You've got a pool of talent that can change the system, the structure, the attacking flow of the game, and defensive control if you need throughout the season. But right now, we're playing with the hair on fire because you've got so many games, and this is the most injuries we had. So we go into the game with 7 injuries. We've had 7 injuries for 3 weeks now. Last season we had 13 at varying points, so that's not a high number, given that 2 of them are kids that aren't playing anyway. But it's the positions of those. So we've got certain positions that we have like real concerns with, and we've got a low volume of players that can share the minutes. They've got to play. We've got to get them all up to a 100-minute chronic load. And that's what he's trying to do right now. So he's trying to manage game state and the tactical strategies going on within that at the same time as the priority of who's getting what minutes has gone above that, if that makes sense. Yeah. So previous this season, he's wanting to keep players topped up and fresh, but the strategy was above that in his decision-making process. Right now, it's the other way around. Yeah. So he's trying to get the right strategical outcomes of how he wants to change a game, but he knows what on that bench who needs to come on at 60 and who needs to be coming off at 60.
Yeah.
And so that
it's just a shame. It's just a shame. We all agree with what the goal is here, for the whole campaign. But it's such a monumental 6-pointer, wasn't it? And we were on top, and then it literally just all dissipated almost. Although not quite. Welcome to talk to Hamzah about the massive chance.
I thought Harvey had his worst sub appearance. Grav was terrible. Grav had a possession control 90. If you extrapolate his minutes over a 90-minute
period. So he played half an hour, didn't he, I think?
Yeah. He'd have minus 54.
Fucking
that
hell.
means he would have given the ball away 54 times more than winning it.
God, I remember Jota having one that was close to that level last season.
Yeah, he had a horrendous game. But Darwin's terribleness was around 34. And this season, he's way better than that. Like, way better than that. Trent's typically, you think the risk reward of Trent, and he is around a 22 to 27, depending on the day and how long his passes are. But also, like, you're going to counter that with Trent has 130 touches in the game. Yeah. So he's going to lose 25 of them. But he's also creating 1.6 XT from those passes or whatever. And Grav in this game just gave the ball away, and then he just pranced around like a prima donna.
Let's move on to
waving his arms around, shouting at people instead of going to win it back. And it's one of the it's like etched in stone rules of being in this squad. You lose the ball, it's your job to go get it back instantly.
Yeah, that was the thing I thought was the most egregious. There was at least two where he just stood and
waved his arms in the air.
Yeah, like, and that's the kind of thing that makes you
have to be captain of Liverpool for 10 years to be able to do that.
As I say, if you normally you end up in Klopp's dungeon for about 3 months if you do that. Yeah. So let's see what
choice.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Hamzah, now we're saying all this that the subs took the momentum out of the game. However, after the subs, we still had a monumental chance to win the match.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah. This is about as big a chance as you'll see anyone get against Arsenal this season. From the set piece.
From an Arsenal set piece.
From an Arsenal set piece. This is, and I think people remember that this is something that Liverpool.
We've done it to Arsenal before.
Not just Arsenal, but breaking on from an opponent's set piece is something Liverpool. I mean, we scored against West Ham doing that.
But we did it. Salah's first season in the September. One of the first goals Salah got at Anfield.
Oh yes, of course.
Direct for a corner against Arsenal. Yeah.
This is really quite bad. So there's a little mix-up on the edge of the area, as people will know. Just playing sort of 11-a-side Sunday League, typically over the past sort of however many years people have been playing, there's usually a guy or two positioned on the halfway line. Over the past 5-10 years, teams have moved away from that because you gain more from having those players in the box or around the edge of the box with the second balls. Pretty much the guy on the halfway line doesn't add much at all, and you're probably actually losing a marginal sort of advantage by having them positioned there. But the idea is that the 2 blockers or 3 blockers on the edge of the box do their job. But in this instance, I believe Van Dijk wins the first contact. I'm just checking now. No, it's Gomez at the near post, and then Zinchenko and Odegaard. And Zinchenko had a terrible game because I think earlier as well there's a break which didn't amount to anything, but it was where Trent was playing deep, played forward. Szoboszlai beat his man, I think Gabriel passed back to Zinchenko, and then Salah dispossessed him, and then laid the break. Then that mistake happens, and you've got a 4-on-1 situation, a 5-on-1.
It becomes 5-on-1.
So you've got Nunez on the left to Salah breaks down the middle, then Harvey Elliott, then Ryan Gravenberch, and then Trent.
Trent coming from Trent's speed here, his top speed was just phenomenal, wasn't it?
And I think everyone has seen it, knows there's a little bubble, but I think as well, so if you compare this shot to the one that he did against Leicester
Yes.
I think, was it 3 seasons ago? It was a week.
Yeah, when we won the league.
Yeah,
Boxing
and
Day.
he got like 21 points on fantasy football. It was the best fantasy football game we've ever seen from right back. And what he did in that moment was before he took the shot, he actually slowed down. And because he slowed down, he was able to just take the pace off the ball and hit it clean and true and low. And I think that's probably the shot that he should have done here. But because he's sprinting, and if he, as you know, if you're sprinting onto a shot, you've just got energy in your legs, and that energy has to go somewhere. So he's absolutely hammered this ball, and it's taken the bobble, so it's a crossbar.
But he didn't go laces though, did he? He went side foot.
No, he went with the side foot, but there's just so much energy.
The Leicester one was laces, wasn't it?
I think he got over the top of it, but in the moment before he takes that shot, you see him slow, as most people do before a shot. But he had an extra second in that one where he really slowed down, got on top of it, and then was able to place it. This one bobbles up, and like I said, he's just sprinted from his own box. And anyone that does that, there's just a little bit of fatigue as you run from end to end. So when you're reaching for the ball, there's that extra bit of energy and that fatigue that have come together. So you're carrying that energy because you're sprinting, but you're also a bit fatigued because you've been running for 80 yards. And he just, he lets fly, hits a crossbar. It would have been a great break and a great goal, but just a bit unlucky on that one.
Si, have you got any physical stats on from your Magic login on this one, on the kilometers per hour or anything?
He clocked 38.4 kilometers per hour as a top speed.
38?
Yep.
38.4. That's going to be that's a record. That's like Kyle Walker speed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Kyle Walker. It's not quite Kyle Walker speed, but it's Darwin speed.
38? Jesus Christ.
No. Wow. Did you not see him? He made 5 meters on Darwin.
Yeah. I just can't believe it.
Darwin should never have allowed Saliba back. He got 2 meters ahead of Saliba, and he allowed Saliba ahead of him, which was a little bit weak.
I thought Salah's fastest was like 36.5k.
No. Salah's been faster than Darwin last season.
Right. Because the one with Darwin last season, that was about 36.5. And you're saying Trent was 38.4k?
Yeah, top
Fucking
speed.
hell. Unbelievable. Would you have wanted Salah to lay that ball off to anybody else? I think Trent was the best option, right? For God's
sake, all of them should have scored.
Yeah, but Trent was the best one we wanted it to go to, wasn't it? And it was just
In all honesty, that's the narrative. But he's a bloody fullback that's got great technique. But as if Gravenberch can't have scored that, as if Harvey couldn't have scored that, as if Darwin couldn't have scored that. All of them were equally. I don't know, had equal chance of scoring or hitting a post.
But just imagine if Mo had laid that off to Darwin and Darwin had missed.
The cop would have sang his name.
We haven't mentioned Declan Rice here, obviously, which I set up, but as in, the key point here is actually it's just Liverpool messing up and not taking a chance rather than some sort of defensive masterclass by Declan Rice. As I said at the beginning, having that player usually doesn't add any value at all to defending counters. I mean, it was 5-on-1 anyway, or 5-on-2. So yeah, any social media sort of people telling you that it's
but that's the difference between social media banter and actual looking at what players actually bring to teams. And Arsenal have got a historically good defensive record this season, and that's all you need to know about how good Declan Rice is.
But Declan Rice had a really good game. That had nothing to do with him.
Anything else
that also got had a really good game? Kanate had to deal with Gabriel Martinelli a lot when on the break, and I felt he dealt with him really well.
There was one tackle in particular which was so well timed.
But that
tackle in particular, the ones inside the box.
No, this was one out near the halfway line, near the centre circle.
Early on, this one, I think.
Yeah,
sort of set the tone, sort of one.
Yeah, it was really good.
Which he's great at, and being front foot, and it's being front foot that cost him being marking Gabriel in the first place, and cost the free kick which they scored from. It's weird that I thought we're surrounded by narratives. This game had one of those. Mo wasn't very good in this game, apart from his goal and the big chance he created for Trent. But that was the narrative.
And the one where he hit the side netting as well. So yeah, he had all our best attacking moments, but he still didn't play
Darwin was and Konate was brilliant and the best player on the pitch and showed like he's the best French defender in the world. Apart from his mistake, literally led to the goal.
Yeah,
and Mo's rubbish. Apart from the actual brilliant goal he scored, I think my point is only that we can really, in being clever about the process and about what, understanding the game, I think sometimes we can weight that above the actual thing that happens sometimes. Does that make sense? In football, as you like to talk about all the time, Darth, is a very low scoring game.
Yeah.
Those scoring or conceding, they should grossly outweigh the other stuff.
Yeah. And that's why mistakes matter, unfortunately.
Yeah. So quickly, before we finish Arsenal, there's another handball in this game that absolutely no one talked about, and it drives me crazy. Harvey had a shot.
Was that the one that hit was it the one that clipped the post?
It went just wide for a corner. Right. And it came off Gabriel's elbow.
Okay.
And he did have his arms down by his side, but he maneuvered his arm to touch the ball.
So he motioned towards it, yeah?
I don't care if your arms are by your side. If you dive at the ball and your elbow is the thing that prevents it going in, that's handball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody talked about it. It's just so good. The whole handball thing is just so bizarre to me. I don't understand. It's another thing that the world is gone, oh, we're so clever. Because when I was a kid, ball hits your hand in the box, it's a penalty. The only thing you're disputing is how unlucky you are. But it's always a penalty. If the ball hit your hand, bad luck, it's a penalty.
I just realised after all those excitement of talking about this game, I never even gave the match summary from Rhodesy. Just to finish off then for the Arsenal game, it was about as close a match as you're going to see. It was 51-49% possession to us, 13 shots each. The average across the 5 models we use on the non-penalty XG was 0.95 for us, 0.86 for Arsenal. Both sides had very low shot quality, 0.07. Arsenal won the shots on target 3-2. Shots in the box, Arsenal won 9-8. Big chances was 1 each. Touches in the penalty box was 27-24 in our favour. So yeah, it was literally a 50-50 game between two very, very good teams. Hamzah, anything else you want to cover before we move on?
The last thing I'll say is just it's another game where because I think Bart would have mentioned this, another game where the XT has exceeded the XG. So just turning those those opportunities into actual goal scoring chances is a bit of a thing. So I think if you include the Burnley game, which we'll go on to,
let's do that now.
That's 4 matches in a row where the XT has been higher than the XG. And the previous match of that was it's 5, including the Sheffield. It's 5 matches, including 5 in a row now, that the XT4 has been higher than the XG4. No, it's 4. I was wrong. Sorry, it's 4. But not ideal. But
no, we can talk about the general stodginess again. And then we come into the Burnley game. So, Si, we talked about 3 days between West Ham and Arsenal. There's another 3 days between Arsenal and Burnley, and more rotation.
Yeah, it's how we're rolling. When we talked about subs and using that to mitigate load and balancing all that stuff out, right? Here's a little bit of context. That over the last 5 seasons, the exact same block. So
last international break to FA Cup.
Exactly. Well, to the game before the FA Cup. Yeah. So we're up to this game. So the 10 games after the international break. Yeah. The 19-20, great season. 735 minutes were shared amongst the subs. 811. And I also contextualized this with the number of games missed through injury. So 19-20, we had 81 games missed through injury at this point. So we've got a fit team that we didn't rotate that much, and we shared this. So 73 minutes basically a game was spent on subs. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2021 we had 167 games missed through injury, so double. Only 81 minutes per game were spending on subs. 21-22, we had 657 minutes, so 66 minutes per game with 131 injuries. Last season, 840, so 84 minutes per game with 197 games injured. This season, do you want to guess how many sub minutes we used?
800.
So peak of 841 last season. 1,347.
Wow.
And 121 injuries. So we've got the second fewest injuries in the last 5 years that we've had, games missed through injury. So this isn't a big injury problem for us this season. We've not been unfortunate through injury, let's just say that. And we're basically double the number of minutes used, because I think we've probably had an uptick in the quality of our recruitment. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
So Jurgen has a better pool to switch from, and he's been smarter about who he's switching.
So Gomez was back starting, Kwanzaa was back in for Ibu, Rav was back in for Jones, Elliott was in for from the start again, and then Nunes was back in for Diaz, and Cody started again up front.
Yeah.
So this, I'll just quickly do the match summary, because while I said the Arsenal game was as close as you get, this one wasn't. So it was 1.7 expected goals across the models for us, 0.9 for Burnley. It was 19 shots to 9 in our favour, 10 shots to 0 on target. It's not often we concede 0 shots on target. In fact, it was the first time in the Premier League this season. Shots in the box was 12 to 5 in our favour. Big chances was 2 each. And the shot quality was poor again. Again, only 8.9% average for us. That's a percentage point below league average shot quality, and it was 10% for Burnley, which is bang on. And I guess one of the really concerning things is that Hamzah started to allude to it, is over the last 8 games, our big chance difference since Brentford, is -1. So we've created 1 fewer big chance than we've conceded, which is quite something, really, considering our big chance difference for the first 11 games was 17. So we've gone from really creating big chances for fun. And that first 11 games, we were averaging 3.5 big chances a game, and in the last 8 we're down to 2.1. So there's a big drop off in the attack, and we'll come on to that generally as we go through this. So, Si, I mean, this I've seen some various things said about this match. Producer Guy said it was horrific as we were coming in. You're not so down on it, are you? You thought we were pretty good, right? I get the impression.
Yeah, I thought we were. I don't think we were great, but I thought we were as good as you could expect at this point of the season.
Considering we're in the grind, as we, right now, to come up with this performance in the grind, do you think? Yeah,
absolutely. I think given 2 inches of difference in this game, if nothing else changed, I think we could have won by 4 or 5 or 6. I think we could have easily battered them. We were very, very close to unlocking them, and I think in the last 5 games, we had a couple of games where we scored freak goals from outside the box.
Yeah.
But we've not been opening anybody up. And I think our process of getting into the box and creating movement and patterns that we deliberately practice to get us into specific areas of the pitch and to get into specific areas within the box were much better in this game than they had been for weeks.
So what was it that you particularly liked? I'll come on to you, Hamzah, asking the same question.
I thought it's the opposite of Man United. I think against Man United, they wanted to defend their box, the width of their box, and we interchanged so much that we were just creating a rut between the centre circle and the attacking D. We weren't moving the ball outside of that zone at all. It was like American football. And it was like watching 80s rugby, just following along the scrum. And in this game, we had players in all the zones at all times. So the system came first. Trent wasn't just wandering off, coming inside, and nobody was out there covering the space. At no moment was Mo coming in, and there was no 8 to go and replace him. So there was always somebody on both touchlines. I think the one thing we could have done a little bit quicker, a little bit better, speed of play, is what next is switch. That would have been my one criticism, if anything. The rest of it is just a little bit of finishing and luck with the referee.
Yeah, Hamzah, same to you. What did you think generally about this game for us, and how much did you like our performance?
I thought it was good. I think it's also important to preface that with that this is the league's bunny team. I think Burnley are perfectly set up for a team like Liverpool or City or Arsenal to just take apart. They did dispatch the championship, but they were a bit hot on sort of XG difference compared to actual points total. And the way that they play is just quite sort of open. James Trafford had a good game. Liverpool scored 4 goals, 2 were disallowed. We can sort of, it doesn't really matter. Liverpool also got an early goal as well, so game state advantage. So yeah, pretty sort of solid performance. It was quite nice seeing a quite cohesive performance with the rotated team. And I think I'm starting to, I know it's an American phase, but I'm drinking Klopp's Kool-Aid in terms of rotation. And you can't expect a sort of a really impressive performance from a team that's changed a lot. Right? You're just looking for the result and just to see out the match. I think one thing that's just a shame more than anything is with the 2 goals that were disallowed, it would have helped to sort of manage the team's legs and the game, and you wouldn't have had any sort of period in the second half where, like, I think they got 3 shots off or something, and like it wasn't particularly threatening, but they had some shots, and I think if Liverpool were 2-0 up, you would have seen it would have been an opportunity to see real sort of game management, and everyone could have sort of gone to bed at half time, because then we could have killed the game off, just pass the ball around. Shame that didn't happen, but yeah, pretty sort of solid, decent performance.
Yeah. So, Si, I mean, you mentioned we were close to getting things right in attack, close to scoring more goals for various reasons. Maybe I'm too much focused on the lack of the numbers in the big chance column and the shot quality then. It's just that I am concerned generally about the pattern of play. I don't mind so much in that we're improving the defensive side of the game, but I'm just wondering if the attack has declined too much to get that improvement in the defence. Do you know what I mean? It's always like it's Rafa's blanket is what I'm trying to get at.
I don't know. I think we're more cohesive now than we had been early in the season.
But creating less. So we're better.
I actually think I think I don't know if we're creating less. I think big chances are attributed badly, and we have had we've had a whole bunch of big chances given to us this season that weren't big chances at all.
Shot quality, no, not bothered.
I even prefer a different term, because my shot quality is the thing that happens after the shot.
Yeah.
So our shot quality in this game wasn't bad. Our chance quality probably wasn't as good as it could have been, but I don't even think we were getting into the moment and taking the wrong shots.
Yeah,
I think we took some really good shots. I think just stuff got in the way of this being a brilliant performance. I think any of the things that didn't happen would have resulted in a goal, and then we could have won by 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this was a bad performance at all because, you're in the grind. It's 3 days after the Arsenal game. You go away and you keep a clean sheet. And, we've seen these games before countless times, where you could come away with a 1-0 ugly win and you just get out of there, right, with the win. There's no, so I think my concern is
3.3x post shot. That's good.
Yeah.
3.3 post shot from 1.8 XT.
Yeah.
I'm taking that every time. I think our attackers did a good job.
Okay.
One difference we did have early in the season was Jota was fit as well, and that helps.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you talk about the Jota selection? Klopp's admitted that he gambled. Can you explain what that means? What that entails?
What that entails is a manager told the truth to the papers. That's the only difference. They do it all the time.
What can you summarize what the situation was with him?
So typically, your medical staff are going to try to save their own arses and say they'll keep. I've worked with certain physios over the years who let's say I've called the fitness Nazi, who you send a player to. Players wouldn't even tell them when they're injured because they would say you're out for the rest of the season, basically, on the third game of the season. So medical staff can be a little bit precious about keeping players up to certain specific arbitrary targets or targets of policies they have for specific injuries rather than being individualized for.
So they will generally err on the side of caution.
Absolutely err on the side of caution. And managers absolutely err on the side of now.
Yeah.
And the best cohesive team is one that I've talked about on the past that I think we've had here is when it worked collaboratively. And we've got objective data that informs good practice. I think in this case, what it was that he's fit to play in there's no risk of re-injuring the injury. It's just that his tolerance to playing load has not been built the conventional way yet because he's only had 2 training sessions. So what they would typically have done would be building up 30%, extra 30%, extra 30%. And Klopp went, right, that 30% can be 28 minutes on the pitch instead of you doing 850 meters of high speed running on uncontested or in a small sided game in training.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
So this is continuing what we discussed on the last pod, where we're doing more and more on the pitch and less on the training ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So in all honesty, Klopp isn't wrong. There is just a risk to it, and it's Klopp's job to weigh that risk. And
I think that it's absolutely perfect timing. What a boost to get him back and on the goal straight away. Anyway, but there's a lot. Yeah. Now, Hamzah, you have probably written more than anybody else in the entire country about Trent Alexander-Arnold this season and his role. How did you see him in this game? And very much part of the back three for long periods, right?
Yeah,
In build-up.
I also thought this is. I'm just going to try and remember all the matches since the international break, but I think this was his least impressive match since the international break. I think. I don't know if people would disagree, but I thought it was fine, but not as excellent as he had been in a few matches recently, the Arsenal one in particular. But yeah. Able to move around a bit. Again, that's a quality that we've seen more and more over the past few weeks. And I think it was did Klopp mention it in a presser once that the idea is to not just have him. No, actually, it was that piece I referenced. It was the Opta piece, wasn't it? So after we did the pod, we mentioned that it'd be ideal if Trent sort of horse for courses attempt to move wide when the opportunity was right, and then play deep when the opportunity was deep and play in field. Then David Seeger did that piece for the Opta analysts, and he showed that has increasingly been the case this season compared to the last sort of 8 matches of last season. But yeah, been all over. We're seeing the development, but compared to other recent matches, there were a few looser passes than usual. But again, I wouldn't place too much emphasis on this because players are quite tired, and it's Burnley as well. I know it's a full league match, but it has almost a feel of a sort of cup match because of the difference in the strength of teams and whatever.
You say that, Hamzah, but he did generate 0.79 XT on the Markar stats model. I can't recall seeing a 0.79 before. That's just a phenomenal figure for expected threat.
And we mentioned the. I think FB Ref has just updated, but my laptop has been really, really slow. So I'm just going to grab the...
Si's been waiting for that update all day.
So I'm just going to get his XA for the match. If you just
Lazy
give me a sec.
bastards.
Computer says no, Si.
Oh, his XA for the match, Trent's XA for the match was 0.57.
That's good. Again, that's good. And it's 0.79 XT.
In which case, my eyes, I must have been nodding off then.
Well, that's what I mean. I thought it was quite a soporific performance. Generally fitting with Boxing Day.
One was Gakpo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which understat gives a 0.08.
Yeah.
Chance quality for.
Yeah. But I think, I guess one thing I want to explore more, though, is just what someone said to say earlier on, Hamzah. He's not necessarily trying to get into centre midfield alongside the 6 in that role like he was so much at the start of the season. I mean, average positions are, you've always got to try and interpret them. But his average position in both of these matches was to the right of the right centre back, basically, alongside him, not in front of them in a double pivot or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But variety is important. We always said this. You cannot be, the one thing you cannot afford to be in football is predictable.
And I think when it came to the Arsenal match in particular, you could see how that sort of that problem of him moving in between the centre backs became an issue. And I think there were a number of clip passes down the line in this match which were quite effective as well. I'm just looking at the stats profile as well. So 28 attempted long passes and 17 completed, so 60% completion rate, which is really good for long passes. In fact, I think it's only been beaten twice this season against Villa, where he was clipping passes for fun.
Again, one where he rotated positions with Joel Matip in that game and was very much part of the back line in build-up.
And the other match is Luton, but in that match, Liverpool had loads of possession and were a bit sort of unfortunately
wasteful.
Yeah. But yeah, 4 key passes as well, which again has been it's been exceeded in Sheffield United match, Palace United, it's a Manchester United match. But yeah, I think that the form since the international break in particular has been really, really impressive. Yeah, sorry, I might have just got the wrong read on this match. I think
it's fine. It's more like I was just thinking because Si was quite impressed with our general competence and our build-up and stuff. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it. Gomez was holding the width quite well on the left. He was quite attacking, and it was very much a different midfield balance as well. With Harvey was effectively playing as a right winger. Do you think most of the time? And Gravenberch was almost as a 10.
Yeah. And I think, again, this is something that we mentioned before. When you play with the fullbacks and when you play with wingers that play on the opposite side, sometimes with this particular system, the WM, that means that you can be quite narrow. So you do need either your fullbacks, if they're not inverting, to stay wide to hold the width and just stretch the play a bit more. And you also need, if that's not happening, you need your centre mid to do that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you still want that vertical depth as well. So you can, you want to be compact enough in possession to be able to counter press, while also maintaining width so that you're stretching the opponents, and you want to do that both vertically and horizontally. That having that spacing is important, and again, it's something that was done quite well in the Arsenal match. And with that comes more opportunity to play passes. As in, when you've got more space because you're spaced out better, you can pick out passes better. It's just quite natural in that regard. I hope that explains that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. Si, any thoughts about Cody Gakpo playing back in the role we effectively signed him for? Where he spent all his time at PSV. How did you appraise Cody's performance on the left of the front three?
I thought he did okay. He had a nice game. It wasn't spectacular or anything. He didn't give the ball away too badly, and he was talked up that he did a really good job. But 27 touches again.
Yeah, but
he did have an assist.
Yeah, I was going to say though, right? He had the same low overall involvement in terms of his pass volume, right, in his touches. But at the same time, this time he had actual output. He had 2 chances created, 3 shots, and 5 dribbles. Yeah. And 0.76 expected goals plus XA. So, I mean, that is a good, productive line, which is what he hasn't had any of, really, in the centre-forward position or the false 9 position.
I don't think that's true. I think he hasn't had any recently. He's not been in the greatest of form. We haven't been finding him.
So he hasn't had it consistently. Then
consistently for sure. Yeah. But also, Burnley are wank.
This is it. That was my next question. How much of it, though, is just Burnley being a bad team? Yeah.
I think there's a lot of caveats to all of the narratives we're talking about. Very small sample sizes for some people, and the quality of opposition. We've been creating less because we've been going for a period of higher quality opposition. And Burnley really are a rubbish team.
But one thing that was not small...
We should have battered them.
Yeah, one thing that was not a small sample size was Darwin Núñez's goal drought, and then he breaks that after 6 minutes, say.
What goal? Weirdly, I had a conversation with the coach, and then I was talking to my son afterwards because there'd been a Boxing Day thing, family thing that I avoided because of my brain. He had said the same thing to my daughter, that Sadio, at his best, we used to talk about it a lot, that Sadio was a brilliant instinctive finisher.
Yeah.
You give him 3 seconds to think about it.
Yeah, he's terrible. Yeah.
And Darwin is very similar. One touch, great finish. Give him a second to think about it. Terrible. And you can't deny the effort to get up from being clubbed in the first place. It was the longest 1-2 for years with Gakpo. Gakpo just fed him back in, and then he hit beautifully. There's a phenomenal view from the left-hand post from behind the goal, and there was maybe a foot square that was 2 feet off the floor for him to a tunnel for him to have curled that ball and not touch any of the limbs that were that potentially in the way. Unbelievable. Anywhere else that gets deflected wide. It was just a genuinely great finish.
And it was another goal from outside the box.
Yep, great. Don't shoot from outside the box, you're a dickhead. But I'll take this one because it was brilliant.
Where are you standing on the process versus, the whole thing that we're shooting outside the box now because we're good at it kind of debate, which is amongst all the fan base at the moment?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
We just shoot outside the box because you can't think of anything better to happen. But this was a moment where there was a gap.
I thought you were going to go on and say we don't go on and create high enough quality chances so that our moves break down, so we end up shooting earlier. That's what I thought you were going to say.
You don't create high enough quality chances because you've got so many dickheads throughout the area because they want to score glory goals. If anyone's played football, you've played with those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it still happens in the Premier League, I promise you.
Yeah. And Hamzah, this is probably the third time you've been on talking about long shots outside the box. It's a real theme since you joined the podcast. You brought it up first of all, and it's just continued.
The Nunez shooting from there is fine because it's just inside or just outside the D. Then Elliott's
that's acceptable. That's the acceptable. I think if you drew a rectangle around the D, that's the acceptable outside the box zone.
So if you're shooting from there, as in it's fine. And he takes it really well. Central area, cool. It's the other ones. It's the Szoboszlai, it's the Trent ones. It's Harvey's other one. These are when you're turning. And the thing about these as well, actually, if you go and understat, you can have a look. I think they're pretty much all in zone 14 as well. There are much better options to use.
Pass, yeah.
And they know that there are way better options to use and utilize there from just outside the area. There's no reason that they should be shooting from there, even if they've got a really good long shot on them. I think opposition teams now know, they've got a long shot on them. They might close that player down. That means you should definitely be using the opportunity if someone's closing you down to pass it off, especially if you've got Salah on the inside. And you see as well, when Diaz came on late on, the players understand, I think Salah was on the left and Diaz was on the right, and this is right at the end. Salah tries to play a pass towards Diaz when I think he's got an option on the near side. Liverpool already 2-0 up. And I think he understood in that moment Diaz hasn't scored in a while. I'll try and give him a goal. These players should also taking shots from outside the box should understand the same situation as well. They should be giving it to Nunez as much as possible. If they've got the ball just outside the box, let him get the shot off, let him get a shot away. It's just that's bad decision making, and that has also characterised not just this match, but the Arsenal match as well, and especially the Manchester United match. That's why the XT isn't being converted into XG. It's because there's bad decision making in the final third.
It's just not as fluent as it should be, is it? It's not not quite clicking in the final third, is it?
Yeah, I think, and we'll come on to Jota as well, but I think that helps a lot, just because he has that sense of making one of the most efficient sort of decisions when he gets into the box. He's able to take the ball quickly and release it quickly, not too much sort of funk going around in his head when he receives the ball. It's quite clean and clear, even if it doesn't look super clean and clear when Jota has it. It's very efficient in his mind, and so having that, I think, should help, and I think that was a reason why Liverpool started the season well from an offensive point of view. These long shots, they've got to stop because they're not adding this much value. They're not adding a lot of value at the moment.
We are marginally above league average rate at converting long shots. We're not good. We scored 7, but we're marginally above the league average rate because we've taken so goddamn many.
Here's the stat, Darth. 15.8. 15.4, 14.9, 9.7,
distance from goal?
Oh. No, these are percentages of shots that are blocked.
Right.
15 you can't have 15% of your shots blocked. That's just from a striker. That's just stupid. So the only two players we have in the team that percentage of shot blocked under 10%. Guess who they are?
In the team?
Yeah.
Salah and Jota.
There you go.
Yeah. Si, I know you never read the charts I make. So do you know who the statistically the best team from outside the box is this season?
Oh.
Would you believe it? I said it's the same team that we played in this match who didn't have a single shot on target.
No way, really?
They've scored 7 goals from
actually put inside the.
They've scored 7 goals. They've scored 7 goals from 76 shots outside the box. That's 1 in 11. Even I can do that maths. Whereas Wolves and Crystal Palace are both 0 goals from 65 shots. We are 7 goals from 135 shots outside the box.
I had looked at that graph.
And we have 40 more than any other team now, which is just bonkers.
Yeah, stop shooting so far.
Yeah. Hamzah, was a lot of debate in our chat last night about the referee, Paul Tierney. You are the most objective and you have to be paid to talk about this stuff for your day job. Where did you stand on the decisions last night? and how egregious were they in your opinion?
I thought both should have been goals. Well, I thought the one where Salah was deemed offside because of a push, I thought that was a bad process by the VAR. I don't think we need to really get into this much as in VAR stuff, but as in everyone knows that the process that they use is just not very sort of, compared to cricket, compared to rugby, it's not very clear. And often when a referee is referred to the monitor, they're not getting a full sort of picture. They get one very big picture, and that's it. But obviously, that's a snapshot of the events, and I think Paul Tierney should have been showed the push, and the other one was the. Just remind me again that I've just completely.
It was the
Darwin foul.
God. That's even worse, as if he just hadn't touched him. Yeah, that was a diabolical one. When watching it live, I'm pretty sure I heard the whistle go just after he took the shot. But yeah, that was just never a foul. And you can tell by the player's reaction, the Burnley player, because he just hand to his head. He's like, "Oh no, what have I done? I've just given a goal away by just being rubbish in the box." And then the referee blows, and he's like, "Oh, fantastic, great."
So Tierney gives that one, right? Tierney gives the foul against Nunes, and the VAR does not recommend that he goes to the monitor to overturn it. They said it's not enough to overturn that. It's not a clear and obvious mistake, right? Then the second one, Tierney gives it on the field, and then the VAR says there is a clear and obvious mistake because of the offside, and then tells him to go to the monitor. So let's take the first one. Do you think there's any way that we can be angry about Paul Tierney giving that on the field with what he sees from where he sees it, or do you think the problem is a VAR problem?
I think I think generally, so I should be consistent with this. The threshold for VAR interventions is too low, and I think it should be higher. And if I believe that, then I think we just got to accept that this is just a bad decision by the referee. I think it should be really egregious sort of decisions, and I think this is
clear and obvious. Clear and obvious. Yeah, you're saying.
I think there's a little bit of contact, and personally, I would not give that. But I've also got to recognise I'm a Liverpool supporter, so I'm always going to be coloured by that. And I think if you're an objective referee and you've seen that, you go, "Ooh, I'll probably think it is a goal." However. There's a bit of contact there, and the referee actually has a good view, and they've got a sense of the physicality as well of that moment, which you don't get through the camera. So you go, okay, and they're in conversation as well. So there's a good chance that Paul Tierney said to the VAR or said to his on-field officials, "I've got a really good view of that." Yeah, I think that's a foul. But
he has a really good view from the wrong angle, because the only way you see the non-contact is from the reverse angle.
That's true, but I think VAR re-officiating by the VAR
absolutely should not happen.
And I think if something is going to happen here, Paul Tierney should. This is my sort of view. Paul Tierney should be able to ask, "I would like to have a look at that again." Goes over to monitor, has a quick look, yes or no. But I think it's a goal, but like it's within that sort of grey area, so I'm not too sort of upset about that not being given.
What about the second one? So the second one is it's given on field, but then he's told to go and look at it because it's a clear and obvious mistake.
This is different because it's not subjective, as in offsides are deemed non-subjective. So again, from a procedural sort of point of view, I think it's correct that the VAR flagged that Salah was offside. Whether Salah was actually interfering with play and actually that is very debatable. And I think
do you honestly think it was? Do you think when let's leave aside the fact of how Salah got into that position, right? I think it's inarguable that he's in the line of sight of the keeper.
And when
the moment the shot is taken, he is directly in line, and it's what, 8 yards out.
Yeah. I think if Salah wasn't there, the ball probably would have gone in anyway, and I think Trafford probably also would have. I
think we have to ignore what the keeper is doing.
Yeah, I agree as well. You just preempted what I was going to say. I think Salah was in an offside position there.
So the debate on this one is how Salah got into that position. So where do you stand on that bit?
Yeah, that's a clear push and a foul. Again,
so that means it's a pen.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also believe that the threshold for penalties should be very high as well. And I don't think, not pertaining to this particular incident, but I think general fouls inside the area should sort of, if they're sort of small ones, they should actually be let go, because as mentioned before by many other people, a 0.76 or 0.78 xG chance for a sort of minor infraction inside the box isn't quite fair. But this obviously is a major infraction because it's put a player in the offside position, disallowed a goal. So yeah, it should be a penalty. 2 hands in the back, quite clear, and I don't know why the VAR doesn't direct Tierney to have a look at that. So again, that's just bad procedure. I wouldn't put that at the hands of a.
But I don't know if there's anything in the rules as it stands to deal with that scenario, because unless you can say it's a foul, that that there was nothing else. Unless you're going to try and layer in something level of contextual information into the offside law. It's which
I think the VAR has an opportunity. It's saying there's a clear push here.
But you can't just say it's a push. You have to say it's a foul or not a foul. You can't say it's a push is you can have bodily contact without it being a foul. So if you're just saying there's a push, then is it a push and no foul, or push and a foul?
That's a fair point, actually. In which case, it's a matter for the lawmakers, but I think the lawmakers also just got themselves in the real sort of twist over making rules specifically for VAR.
Well, this is true, actually.
The rewriting of rules makes it very difficult. I remember a number of years ago, someone mentioned on TV, I don't understand what the handball rule is anymore. And I thought, what a load of nonsense. It's very clear, very simple. But to be completely honest, over the past 5 years, with the consistency of the silhouettes,
natural position.
If the player's falling to ground, they use the hand to support them.
Did it touch an opponent on the way through or not?
There's one that I think Liverpool listeners will see today, where when they listen, there's Everton conceded a penalty, and Onana was 2 yards away from the Manchester City player, just blasted the ball at them. You look at that penalty that was given, and you look at the one that wasn't with the Odegaard one, and I now sympathise with whoever it was on TV that said they don't understand what the handball rule is anymore. That's just a separate issue, but a bit of a mess. But I thought Liverpool should have had 4 goals, but and it affected the way that Liverpool played, because with a 2-goal lead early on, that should completely change the match, and Liverpool see out. It's very comfortable, and it was very comfortable anyway. But I don't think Liverpool would have had to try for the last half hour or 45 minutes, whatever. All I would say is it's not uncommon for defenders to give attackers a nudge as a ball's coming into the box at all, just to put them off balance. It's perfectly a common situation, a dozen times a game kind of thing. But they don't always end up playing offside positions like this with material impact. Si, you have a rather different view of all this, don't you? Do you want anything you want to add to this?
I think there are only so many times you can see the same referee take the grey area against one team without wondering if it's bias. Not fucking idiot. That's basically it.
No, there's some pretty compelling, and I think what we'll do is the next time Rhodesy is on, and then we have some time, maybe in the international break or something, or during the FA Cup, we will do a lot more on this, and because there is evidence how statistically robust it is. Bart's will be the judge of that. But I think there's a case. There's definitely enough statistical coincidences, isn't there, to raise your eyebrows, Si?
There is enough statistical coincidences that an organisation who is the governor of the arbiter of rules and officiating and fairness would remove him from the situation out of transparency alone. In this particular case, those two, I understand what Hamzah said. I understand your view. And I don't care about the VAR re-reffing games. I just want the decisions to be right. I'm bored with the VAR. It wasn't high enough bar. Darwin literally didn't touch the defender. Footballers don't go to the ground without holding their fucking heads at this point. If there was any kind of contact. And that guy was not feigning injury whatsoever. He literally missed. Darwin was stupid for swinging, but he literally didn't touch him. So there is no, there was a little bit of contact. I can see why he didn't. It's not true. And I'm fully against the contact being a foul bullshit that's in penalty areas, which is arbitrary. They make it up, and they, as the second decision shows, they pick and choose when to apply that rule. There was no contact, which means that that's as egregious an error of view as possible. There's no way the VAR can't say, oh, actually, you thought it was a foul. It can't have been. Have a look from this angle. It's that simple. It's binary. It's not even subjective. I understand how the Mo thing ends up being subjective. Is he interfering with play or not? Well, actually, should he have been there or not? No, because that's a foul against him, because he gets shoved with two hands enough to make him move forward 2 meters into the line of play. It's a foul. I don't understand how they have, agreed upon the weird things that are fouls and that aren't fouls. And it's got nothing to do with force anymore. It's like, is there a contact on a shin? Oh, definitely a pen. If the ref sees it as a pen, they'll just use that as evidence when it wasn't a foul in the first place. I don't understand how this has become normal for what we've got from the media now. From they want to feel like they're experts and they're sharing their expertise. So what they're doing is they're explaining how VAR sees it rather than what they actually think and the actual rule applying of the actual rules. And so they're saying, oh, I see why VAR wouldn't overturn that, because there was contact, but it wasn't a foul. And they don't think it's a foul. And it's just become this weird norm, like from the 90s, when raising your arm, you've got to be sent off. Whether he chinned somebody or not, if you raise your arm, it's a red card. But that's not a rule.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Fair stuff, fair play, Si. But I think it's been an epically long pod. I'd like to thank you both for attending. I'm ready to go to bed. I can't even get my words out. I'm just that late. But thank you, Si. Thank you, Hamzah. It's been a really, really detailed pod, and the games come thick and fast. We'll be back after New Year for another huge home game against Newcastle. Until then, wishing everybody who listens a very happy New Year. Until then, up the fucking Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.